Welcome back to another episode of Vault. I'm your host, Akaya, and I'm once again so excited to be here. I'm currently joined with this beautiful babe called Noelle. She's an artist, she's a singer, she's fab. So
Thank you.
yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so hello. Thank you so much for having me here today. I genuinely don't know what I'm going to talk about. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so I'm Noelle. I'm half French, half Spanish, and I'm a singer-songwriter. And I moved to London 5 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So I just like to start asking, I want to ask you this first question, basically, what got you into music?
So I feel like all my life I've really enjoyed listening to music or being surrounded by music per se.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was, I think it was 6 or 7, my mom decided to have me join violin lessons.
Nice.
Because she thought it could help me be a little bit more of a calm person because I
Mhm.
always tend to be very hyperactive. And then I did a few years of violin, and then I remember telling my mom that I actually wanted to sing. And then I joined like a choir back in Spain, and I was in that choir for I think 5 years.
Mhm.
And then I decided that I really wanted to focus more on developing my voice a little bit further. And then I joined a different school where I had one-on-one music lessons, and I did a classical training, so opera and lyrical.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Opera, like, whoa.
Yes, exactly.
Damn.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you want to bust a note right now?
Oh no!
Okay.
Next, please.
All right. Okay, sorry, a bit too much pressure.
Unless you want the glass to break, then.
So as like an artist,
Yeah.
what is your songwriting process?
So I feel like for me, it's all about having my time to kind of think of how I'm feeling, really. And as like a lot of other artists, I treat it as my little journal. So I either sit at the piano and then start playing, a few chords with a few chords. Sorry, and then once I've played chords, and then I start humming some melodies, and then I start writing some lyrics down, and then from one idea I jump off to the other one. And I think it's kind of like my moment to kind of connect with my inner self a little bit. And then once I've got that, then I usually either go and work with a friend on the project, or I try to develop it a little bit further, so I get it to a point where, okay, it's worth it for me to pay a studio to go with a producer to produce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say like your sound is? Like, how would you describe your music in general? Like the sound, like what are your influences, like?
So I think it was a bit tricky for me because obviously when I moved to London, I didn't have a lot of experience writing. So I started writing when I was 16, and I did a songwriting competition in Spain. And I won, and thanks to that, it gave me kind of the confidence boost to be like, all right, this is something I can actually do, and then I'm okay at. And so once I did that, I was like, okay, maybe I can try and collaborate with other people, and then work with them and all of this. And then I started working with many different people who did different stuff, really. And then I was like, okay, what sort of music do I actually want to make? Because I am a songwriter, but I also want to be an artist. So I feel like because I've been kind of dipping my feet into different genres and all of this, it's been a bit difficult for me to find my sound.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of years, I would say, especially the last year and a half, I think I finally decided that for my own artist project, I want to focus on Spanish pop, like indie rock back in the 2000s. So like, relative to bands that I grew up listening to that are from Spain.
Yeah.
But I also really enjoy writing production music and like things for sync, or even like for other DJs in like the Afro house world, or in like the EDM world.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's two Noelles. There's like the artist Noelle. Ooh, I touched on my, sorry. There's like the artist Noelle who does like Latin pop, indie, and all of this. And then there's the writer one who really enjoys like EDM and club music.
Yeah.
So it's a bit, I gave you a very long response, but
no,
I
it's
hope it was
perfect.
alright.
Like, I feel like music now, I feel like genres are slowly dissolving because people are dipping their toes in different kind of waters. Like, I don't know, like Lil Sims, for example, she's like a rapper, and she's been doing like, did release like an EP or album that was more like electronic music kind of based. But when I first started listening to her, she was more like doing, like, I'd say kind of maybe grimy hip-hoppy kind of stuff. Like, I feel like it's so nice now that people that we have the freedom as musicians to try and dip your toes in other things and just try new things.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
that's the fun and the beauty of music.
Yeah, you got to think about it. Like London is such like a melting pot of
Yeah.
cultures where, you know, you're even when you're on the I never know how to say it properly, but when you're on the tube, you're always
Yeah.
surrounded by like people that have different ethnic backgrounds that come from many, many different places, and you never know like what part of their culture can actually like be inspiring to you. And that when you're in the studio with someone who does something completely different to you, that's when like real, it's going to be very cringy, but like real magic is created.
No, yeah,
you
magic
know
is definitely the word to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because if you would have told me like 7 years ago that I would be doing Afro house, I would be like, oh, what is that? What is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like now I've gotten way more familiar with like music. People, like for example, people who are local from London make the most. Like obviously in other episodes I've heard you were talking about grime music or things like that, which is something that I was never exposed to growing up.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so interesting because like here in London, I've always been exposed to so many different genres of music. I didn't realize like talking to people that aren't from the UK and London specifically, like the music scene outside of here isn't like as diverse, I would say.
Yeah.
Is that like the reason why you moved here? So like what was the reasoning behind why you've been living in London?
I think for me, when I moved here 5 years ago, it was a time in my life where I was going through financial difficulties and I couldn't afford to pay for university myself, and my parents couldn't either. So it was a point of my life where I was like, okay, like I really want to study something that I really enjoy and I love. So where is the best place for me to be at? And then it was before Brexit at the time, so I was still able to apply for the student loan.
Yeah.
And then I applied for the student loan. I was like, okay, maybe I should just move to London, because there I believe that people that study music from a young age, they actually value their studies and they actually pay really attention to, you know, being in the music industry or like what other people that do music say, because it's very respected. And I feel like growing up in Barcelona, Spain, it was very much a different vibe where like people there, it was more leaning towards flamenco, leaning towards jazz music or even classical, but the pop scene wasn't as big, or there weren't as many opportunities for me back there, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought it was very interesting for me to move to London in terms of kind of stepping up in my own career and also find people that I could learn from.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think like I had that many mentors or that I knew that many people that were more experienced than I was in that could really like help me, you know, push it to the next level.
Yeah. Oh, that's sick. London is like literally the place to be, I'd say. Like I don't think anywhere else in the world could probably top the music scene in London.
No.
There's so much going on, and that's why I fucking love living here. And I'm so grateful to have been brought up in a space like where all music is valued, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And also I feel like being in London, it's also a very good opportunity for people that aren't from London, because I feel like they cherish like a lot of different music. Like for example, I also sing at different restaurants and stuff, like as a side hustle, and you know, it's Latin music, it's Spanish music, and people actually go and listen to that, you know?
Yeah, and they appreciate
exactly, for sure. And like people here, when you're with your friends, you're like, okay, what do we do after work? Then you just go have a drink, and then there's a live band playing.
Yeah.
That is something that you don't realize that you have it unless like you haven't grown up with it. And I feel like for me, this sort of culture around music, I just didn't have that growing up at all.
Yeah.
You know? So it was very good to kind of like get this new get this contrast when I moved here.
Yeah,
really.
That's nice of you to like push yourself to come here and push yourself to be exposed to things that you probably wouldn't be used to from back home. Like I feel like that's such a nice thing. Yeah,
for sure. I feel like also as an international student, there's always like this little barrier of, oh, like, you know, maybe London at the end of the day is not the place for me because I'm not, you know, English is not my first language. So maybe, you know, people won't really connect with the music I really want to make if it's in a different language and stuff. But I feel like it's so important to always like kind of build the confidence yourself and to be like, no, like, look, like English is not my first language, but I'm still going to, you know, I'm still going to persevere. I'm still going to work hard. I'm still going to try and push for where I want to be, because at the end of the day, I didn't move to London because I wanted a vacation. No, I moved here to work and to grow and to, you know, experience things that I wouldn't have in Spain. And I feel like it's something that people like me that come from different countries really have to remind themselves that, yes, maybe you're working at a, sorry, I don't know if I can curse, but
maybe you're, go for it. Okay. I think it's fine.
Maybe you're working in like a shit cafe for I don't know, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is what I did at some point. And then you're going after to the studio until midnight. And it sucks because you barely had any sleep, but like you have to keep pushing. Otherwise things are not gonna fall, from the sky for you.
Yeah, exactly that. So speaking of like opportunities and stuff like that, I heard that you recently went on like Spain's version of Got Talent or something like that. Like talk to me more about that.
So I did Spain's Got Talent for like this season, and I think it was a very interesting experience for me because I had never done any talent shows, and also like I ride with the piano at home in my bedroom, but I never ever perform like myself and play and sing. So it was very interesting for me to play and sing at the same time, especially in front of so many people and on TV. But no, I really enjoyed the whole experience, and I thought it was a very kind of it was a massive like stepstone. How do you say it?
Stepping stone.
Yes, that stepping stone for me in my career, because it's like, okay, like this is Noelle going on a TV show as the artist, not as a songwriter. And I feel like this is the moment where I actually need to carry on pushing like this momentum, this little energy boost that, yes, like, there's actually people that liked my own stuff, like that actually want to listen to what I'm doing, So I feel like I need to keep pushing that. So it was a very good kind of reminder for myself that I need to go for it. For an art, if I really want to be an artist, which I do. So.
Yeah, and I've watched the video as well. Absolutely amazing voice you've got. Oh my God. Everyone should go check that out on Noelle's page, and she'll plug that at the end. So what would you say is like next for you? I know you've got a single out.
So
some music out. Like, what's next in your career?
So at the moment, I've been working with a friend of mine who's been helping me produce sort of like my body of work that I want to put out, which is going to be like an EP but released as singles. And I feel like this year I really want to start releasing my own music that I really feel like resonates with the sound I want to go for, with this like sort of Spanish pop from the early 2000s sort of thing. And I feel like at the moment I'm trying to, find the right people to work with and find people who can help me push this project further. So I feel like, because I also had a bit like of an issue finding my own brand and, like what do I want to look like? And I think like this is really what I want to focus on. Like, sort of carry on writing music for other people but making my own artist project the priority number one. Yes, for sure.
Nice. So, as an artist, when it comes to like performing like on a stage so big, girl, like I've spoken about this with Mesa on the last episode and Jasmine in the first episode. Like, I love hearing about how people psych themselves into being able to perform and do things in front of such big crowds. So, what is like your process? How do you get yourself ready? How do you prepare yourself?
I feel like for me, oh gosh, I'm very bad at organizing. So if I start telling you that I do a whole routine and stuff, I would be lying. So no, like for me, it's more of, I feel like before going on stage, I really have to have like a few minutes to myself where I want to be just alone to kind of like ground myself and be aware, okay, I'm going on stage. And because I get nervous like everyone else, but I know it's not bad nerves. It's like the good nerves that I've got because I really enjoy what I'm doing. So it's like excitement, not anxiety. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, the worst/best 3 moments where I feel everything here in my belly is literally when I'm going on stage and walking towards the microphone. And then once I sing the first notes, then I'm fine. But those are the like peak of my nervousness. And I feel like in order for me to be able to cope with that beforehand, I need to be alone. Just, not be on my phone, not talk to anyone, and be a little bit antisocial.
You're like, everybody leave me the fuck alone.
Well,
like, don't chat to me. Like, don't chat to me right now. You don't want to mess with this, right?
Exactly.
That's the kind of energy that you're
kind
on,
of
right?
what I'm trying to do. Yes.
But
I promise I'm a nice person.
No, I just said it maybe a little bit too harsh there, but that's like the energy. I like that. I think Mason, Jasmine said about the same thing. I think with myself as well, like before going on stage, I always take a shot.
Do you?
All the time. I always will take a shot before I sing, because liquid courage.
A shot of what?
A shot of tequila.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate tequila.
You hate tequila?
Yes, I could not.
What?
I'm a bad Spanish Latino person.
So what's like your go-to drink then? What's your go-to drink?
Oh, gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic.
Yes, or Aperol Spritz.
Aperol Spritz I can fuck with, but I hate gin.
Oh, no.
I'm
Girl,
not
you don't know what you're missing, eh? No.
I don't like gin. Like, I'm not really like I'm not that kind of girl. Like, I love dark rum and like tequila. Like, I'm crazy like that.
And you can drink before going on stage, no problem.
Yeah, well, like a shot is like, that's all I'll keep it to, because if I have more, I'm a lightweight, so I probably shouldn't. But yeah. So I just want to ask you like about living in London as someone who isn't from here. Like, I know you spoke about it a little bit before, but I want to know more about how it's like impacted your career and your network. Like, how is like it different living in London compared to how it is being in Barcelona? Like, what are the differences?
I feel like for me the biggest difference was that I'm on my own here. You know, like when I moved here, my parents, they didn't like they supported me spiritually and emotionally, but they couldn't do so financially. So I was literally like, this is where I am. I chose to be here, so I gotta kind of fend for myself. And I feel like moving here, especially 5 years ago, going to a music university, I thought that, oh, cool, like this is gonna be like Cambrook, you know, we're gonna do jam sessions, and then I'm gonna go be the biggest, exactly, you know, then I'm gonna be the biggest pop star, and it's all gonna be amazing. No, like this is literally not it, you know, and I feel like throughout my education and my degree, I figured out that, oh, like this is actually so much about, you know, networking, meeting people, like being in the right place at the right time, constantly being curious, asking questions, you know. And I feel like that was so important for me since I moved here. And it was the difference, the main difference that I found in like the whole sort of my day-to-day routine was that I woke up, obviously went to class when I had class, but then I had so much free time that I had to, you know, obviously around my work and all of that, but I had other time that I had to make sure that I was really using. And I feel like going to networking events or things like that, especially my first year, I was going to everything, even if it was, I don't know, I even went to like the classical awards for like nothing to do with what I want to do, but I was there.
Well, I mean, I guess you never know who you'll meet at
exactly
stuff like that, so yeah,
exactly, you know. And then obviously at the university itself, they teach you a few things about, you know, how to songwrite, how to sing, but it's you. It's the way how you treat your free time, what you do with what you're taught and what you do with the resources you're given. This is what really like kind of takes you to the next step. And I feel like all of these things I did not have in Barcelona. You know, so I feel like also the telling myself that I was alone and that I had no one else and that I had to make it happen for myself really was the thing that like, you know, that allowed me to still be here today, like 5 years after, you know. Yes, for sure.
That's such a big thing, like, I'd say, and really brave of you as well to come here by yourself and like put yourself out there, because like, I don't know, I have friends who I go to uni with who are also international students, but like a few of them are quite well off. So it's like I haven't really properly met someone who's international and that has spoken to me about like financial troubles. So I feel like that's really like, I don't know, like hats off to you, honestly, for coming here and like pursuing your dreams, because like I'm probably just like proper deep in like the people that I've met who aren't from here, and they're mostly like pretty well off, or like their parents help them out in certain situations financially because they're pretty comfortable. So yeah, how do you bring your culture into your music? Like what's like I don't know, what's like some artists that have a similar sound to what you want to make? Like, who inspires you?
So you mean like Spanish artists or so recently, like the producer I'm working with, he helped me discover an artist called Tommy Torres. And I really like his songwriting and the way, like, he has one album that I've been listening like on a constant loop since the producer I work with showed it to me. It's called El Playlist de Anoche, which is the playlist from last night. And the sound is acoustic raw instruments. There's a lot of attention to detail in the songwriting. It's heavy influenced by kind of folky storytelling, but also you have pop elements that are a bit more commercial. So he, like, I think is one of the main references that we're using for my project at the moment. And then there's another band called La Oreja de Van Gogh, whose lead singer is called Amaya Montero. And when she was a lead singer back then, because now it's a different woman, but when she used to be on the band, like, there was so many hit songs that they kind of put out that are still like today, that they still play today in all nightclubs in Spain. When they close at 6 a.m. in the morning, everyone's screaming at the top of the lungs these songs. And I feel like that's the sort of music I want to make, something that kind of like has a long-lived impact rather than just like quick
like one hit wonder
exactly, because I think that's the beauty of music at the end of the day, songs that you can still relate to even if you're in a different part of your life, know?
Defo.
So
yes. That's nice.
Thank you. It was really a bit like of a deep moment, but
no, that's really nice. You touched my heart.
Oh, thank you.
So I just want to ask you, I think maybe one more question. And so if you could have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give her?
Ooh. I think I would tell her that it's very important to never give up. And because, another cringy phrase yet again, you give up when you stop trying. And I feel like that is something that has really stuck with me. And also the fact that I need to carry on pushing for what I really want to do in life, and that the world is my oyster, and like it's everyone has access to everything. Like, if you come from, like, if you had a roof over your head, if you had food, and if you had access to education, like, you got everything in your hands in order to make your dreams come true. And I feel like it's so important to not lose sight of these things that we take for granted so much. But you never know, like, there are people that don't have the luck to say these sort of things, and because you do, it's so important that you actually don't take it for granted and keep on pushing and fighting to get where you want to be. And I feel like the advice I would give my younger self is that beware of the things you had, of the things you lost, of the things you managed to kind of build up again. And like, of course, there's going to be days where it's going to be harder. And of course, there's days where I feel like, well, what am I doing? Like, do I want to quit music? Like, this is so difficult, But then there's others where I'm just like, oh, no, like, I wouldn't be doing anything else if it weren't music. So it's so important to keep on pushing. So it's definitely an advice I still tell myself today, and I still tell to everyone else, is that never stop fighting for what you want to do in life, And I feel like, oh, who is this girl telling this stupid things? But it's so true.
It's
like
true.
We should all kind of, carry on fighting for what we want to do, and at the end of the day, we go to bed alone and we wake up alone, and then it's so important to feel happy with your life and content with what you're doing. So
Oh,
that's the guru advice.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. So thank you so much for coming on to today's show.
Thank you, Kaya. Thank you so much.
And is there anything else that you want to say? Like, plug your Instagram or anything?
Oh, yeah. Well, my Instagram is Noelle Vanyi. But what I want to say is I really feel very grateful to be here, because I was like, oh no, like, why am I going on a podcast to talk about my life? Like, what have I actually accomplished? But it's so actually, like, speaking about your life and, reflecting about things you've done, and even like the fact that, yes, I came from a different country. Like, sometimes I forget about these things, and it's so nice to have the opportunity to speak about it and to kind of live here today thinking, actually, like, cool, I did a podcast. I don't know who's going to listen to this, because who cares about me? But, at least I did it. I'm here. And I feel very grateful. So thank you so much, Akaya, for having me on the whole podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, honestly. Yeah. And thank you guys for listening.